You ever have a feeling that keeps you awake for months? Not the kind of insomnia where you count sheep, but the kind where your gut whispers something's wrong, and no matter how much you try to silence it, it gnaws at you. That's exactly what happened to me 6 months before my wedding, when I found something in my girlfriend's purse that changed everything. Before I get into it, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've ever trusted your gut when the truth wasn't clear. Now, let me tell you how it all began. It was an ordinary night. We had dinner, laughed, talked about the wedding playlist, and she left her purse on the hallway bench. I reached in, just to grab her scarf, but instead, I felt plastic. Smooth, sealed. My fingers pulled out a condom. It wasn't ours. The world didn't explode, it just went silent. My mind raced through every excuse, every possibility, but nothing made sense. When I confronted her, I expected panic or maybe guilt. Instead, she looked me dead in the eye and flipped it on me. She said I was too insecure, that the condom wasn't hers at all, it belonged to her female best friend. She even made me feel guilty for doubting her. And the worst part? I gave in. I apologized. I told her she was right, that I was overreacting. But inside, my gut screamed the truth, she was lying. So I listened to that voice. Quietly. Patiently. For weeks, I became an actor in my own life, smiling, planning the wedding, sending out invites. But behind the scenes, I was watching. Her phone habits changed. She laughed differently. She stayed late at work too often. And when I dug deeper, my instincts were right. She wasn't just cheating, she was having an affair with her boss. Now, most people would explode, right? Confront her. End it all immediately. But not me. No, I wanted her to feel the weight of every lie. I wanted her mask to shatter in front of the very people she'd fooled, our families, our friends, everyone. So I kept quiet. I pretended I didn't know. Every "I love you," she said, I stored like ammunition. Every wedding plan we made was another brick in the stage I was building for her downfall. Because I wasn't just planning a wedding. I was planning revenge. I became an observer in my own life. Think of it like running surveillance, but in plain sight. The trick is patience. First, I paid attention to her phone. She'd always been casual before, left it face up on the table, notifications buzzing. Suddenly, she started keeping it upside down. Silent mode, password changes, bathroom trips with the phone clutched in her hand. Not obvious to most people, but once you're tuned in, every little twitch is a clue. Then came the late nights at work. She'd text me, "Big project with the boss, don't wait up." Innocent, right? Except I noticed she'd leave the house dressed like it was date night, not overtime. Perfume. Lipstick. Heels that had no business in an office at 9 p.m. So I followed. Not every time. That would look desperate. But once, twice, carefully. I parked down the block, headlights off, and just watched. And there it was, her car pulling up at a hotel. Not her office. Not even near her office. A hotel. I didn't need to see what happened inside. The story was clear enough. But I wanted proof, cold, undeniable. Something no excuse could erase. So I dug deeper. I checked her laptop one night while she was in the shower. Hidden folders. Deleted messages. Traces of emails with her boss that started professional but bled into accidentally intimate. I screenshotted everything, sent it all to a secure folder she didn't know existed. Evidence, carefully collected, quietly stored. Now, you might be thinking, why not confront her right then? And trust me, the urge was there. But anger is sloppy. Confrontation in private gives them room to twist, to deny, to manipulate. I wanted a stage she couldn't control. I wanted her lies exposed in front of every witness to the life she pretended we were building. So I kept playing my role. The loving fiancé. The man planning a wedding. The guy who kissed her goodnight while already rehearsing the words he'd unleash on that altar. But let me tell you, patience cuts both ways. It was agony sometimes, biting down on the truth, nodding along to her lies. There were nights I almost broke, nights I stared at her sleeping beside me and wondered if I was the villain for holding back instead of leaving. But every time I remembered that condom, that smirk when she called me insecure, the anger sharpened again. She thought she had me fooled. But really, she was just giving me more rope to tighten the noose. And slowly, a plan formed. Not just to walk away, but to destroy the image she'd so carefully built. I wasn't going to raise my voice or throw a scene. I was going to let the truth speak for itself. So I set the trap, the seating chart, the photographer, even the playlist. Every detail of that wedding became part of my revenge. Because the day she thought would be the happiest of her life, I was about to turn it into her reckoning. But before I tell you how I built that theater of truth, I want you to ask yourself something. If you were in my shoes, would you have confronted her, or would you have waited, just like I did? Drop it in the comments. I want to know. Weddings are supposed to be about love, right? Flowers, vows, promises of forever. But me? I wasn't planning a wedding anymore. I was building a stage. Think of it like this: every detail, every checklist item, every smiling congratulations from family and friends, it all became ammunition. My weapon wasn't anger. My weapon was precision. The first step was the guest list. Normally, it's about who sits where, who gets offended if they're at the back. For me, it was strategy. I made sure her family was right up front. Her best friend, the one she blamed the condom on, front row, dead center. And, of course, our parents, the people she swore she could never disappoint. I wanted the maximum impact. Then came the photographer. Most grooms don't care. But I handpicked someone who thrived on candid shots. I told him, I want raw moments. Don't wait for me to pose. He didn't know he'd be capturing the exact second her world collapsed. Even the music became part of my plan. The playlist wasn't random, it was curated to build tension. Sweet songs during the ceremony, but the reception? That's where I added one specific track. A song tied to a memory she once told me about, with her boss. I knew the second it played, her face would give her away. And the speech, the toast. Oh, I rehearsed it. Smiled in the mirror while I practiced. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to curse. No, I was going to be calm, measured, unstoppable. Like a surgeon making the cleanest cut possible. The months leading up to the wedding felt like living in a play I'd written. Everyone thought I was the happiest man alive. Inside, I was sharpening the blade. By the time the wedding day arrived, I didn't feel nervous. I felt ready. You ever watch someone walk straight into a trap they can't see? That was her on our wedding day. She looked perfect, dress shining, hair flawless, smile rehearsed. To everyone else, she was the dream bride. To me, she was a liar walking on stage for her final performance. The ceremony began. Guests stood, music swelled, and she walked down the aisle like every fairy tale she'd ever wanted. I took her hand, smiled at her, even mouthed the words, "You look beautiful." And she believed it. That was the sweetest part, how she still thought she had me fooled. Then came the vows. She read hers first. Beautiful words, trembling voice, eyes full of fake tears. People sniffled, her mother clutched her chest, cameras clicked. And then, it was my turn. I cleared my throat. Everyone went silent. But instead of vows, I told the truth. Calm. Clear. Precise. I told them about the late nights. The hotel. The emails with her boss. I told them about the condom in her purse, the one she swore wasn't hers. I didn't shout. I didn't rage. I just laid it out, fact by fact, like evidence in a courtroom. At first, people thought I was joking. Then, the silence grew heavy. Her face drained of color, her hands trembled, her perfect world cracked. Gasps filled the room. Her best friend's jaw dropped. Her parents looked like the ground had vanished beneath them. And then I said the words I'd been rehearsing for 6 months. I cannot, and I will not, take these vows. Because vows are promises, and promises mean nothing when built on lies. I handed the microphone back, smiled, and stepped away. The room erupted. Guests murmured, some shouted. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. The photographer. He caught it all, the moment her lies collapsed in front of everyone who mattered. And me? I walked out. Calm. Free. Victorious. People always ask me, did it feel good? Did revenge taste sweet? The truth? It felt quiet. Like a storm had finally passed. For 6 months, I'd carried a weight no one could see. Walking out of that hall, leaving her in shambles, felt like dropping it forever. Of course, chaos followed. My phone exploded with calls and texts. Some called me cruel, others called me brave. Her family tried to do damage control. My own parents didn't know what to say. But I didn't answer anyone. I didn't need to. Her boss. He got exposed too. Turns out, when you humiliate someone publicly, secrets spill fast. His marriage collapsed within weeks. She lost her job. And me? I kept my silence, let the world do the rest. But here's what I want you to understand, revenge doesn't heal. It doesn't erase betrayal. What it does is balance the scale. It reminds you, and everyone else, that you weren't crazy, you weren't insecure. You were right all along. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because sometimes the sweetest victory isn't shouting, or fighting, or even winning someone back. It's standing in the center of the stage they built, tearing down the mask they thought would last forever, and walking away before the dust settles. So here I am, months later, telling you this story not because I want pity, but because I want you to know something, trust your gut. If it whispers, listen. And if someone betrays you, decide carefully, because silence can be sharper than any blade. If you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes?